This is the second video in a three-part video series on threat analysis. The aim is to make you better prepared. The first video went over personal threats, and this video is going over local threats. Those are threats that happen in your neighborhood, city, town, or county. Now, some of these threats take a little bit of research, so I've tried to compile some websites to help you. Now let's go through each threat one by one. Explosion and chemical leaks can happen from a train derailment, a trucker mishap, and maybe an industry problem. So it's a good idea to actually map your home, your workplace, and maybe your children's school. How far are they from the nearest active train track? What industries are in your area? What do they produce? What chemicals do they use to produce those products? You have to do a little research, so I'm going to give you some sites that might help you with that. So, how close do you live to a factory? What chemicals do they use? Let's look at this incident.
The Elk River chemical spill occurred on January 9, 2014, when crude 4-methocyclohexanemethanol, or MCHM, was released from a Freedom Industries facility into the Elk River in Charleston, West Virginia. I think we all heard about this incident on the news. Residents were advised not to drink, cook with, bathe, or wash with tap water for a 10-day time period, and if they were pregnant for even a longer period. Up to 300,000 residents were affected.
You may wish to view the Spills and Accident National Database.
The Spills and Accident Database contains data on toxic chemical spills and other accidents reported to the National Response Center, the NRC. Incidents reported to NRC range from minor to very serious, such as an oil sheen on water to a release of thousands of gallons of oil. The NRC reports are extensive, but are also known to be incomplete, as many incidents are never reported, and those that are reported generally are not subject to verification. However, it may give you information if a nearby company has had problems in the past.
If you live within 1 mile of an active train track, you may be at risk for a train derailment and a crude oil fire.
I found a site called explosivecrudebyrail.org where you can enter your address and it will tell you if you're in a blast zone. I'm sure we all remember the accident in July 2013 when a train carrying crude oil derailed and caused a devastating fire at Lac Mégantic, Quebec, that claimed the lives of 47 people and destroyed half of the downtown buildings.
Because of this tragic accident, many local media sources did some research and reporting on what would be the chances of it happening in their area. So you may want to research this.
Here is an excerpt from our local news station. Quote, "Some call them rolling soda cans or Ford Pintos on rails because they are prone to bursting and burning. According to the U.S. government, they are an imminent hazard. The North Dakota oil field boomed so fast that there's been no time to build pipelines to carry the crude. Millions of gallons of that oil roll through West Michigan every week. Where and how many trains are on Michigan rails is a government secret as far as our state is concerned." Unquote. However, the investigative crew did outline the route the trains take in our portion of the state.
Trains and trucks also carry hazardous materials.
A train carrying chlorine gas, sodium hydroxide, and cresol collided with another train in Graniteville, South Carolina in 2005. The car carrying 90 tons of chlorine ruptured and released 60 tons of gas. 9 people died, 250 people were treated for exposure, and 54,000 residents within a mile radius were forced to evacuate for nearly 2 weeks. For more information regarding hazardous materials, what personal protection equipment is necessary, and first aid in case of exposure, view the Canadian Centre for Occupational Health. Here's an excerpt from the chlorine page. As you can see, it is a great resource for hazardous material information.
Having a well-equipped bug-out bag, which is at the ready to grab and evacuate quickly, and having the right personal protective equipment can do a lot to mitigate the threats of a chemical leak. Many are expecting this summer to be the summer of rage. I'm not too sure, but I know that the media is really pumped for it just in case. So what can you do if civil unrest occurs? Well, you're most at risk for it, of course, in a large metropolitan area. But the main things you can do are listen to the radio, stay out of affected areas. If you are in the area, stay within your house. That's why it's a good idea to have food and water and other supplies on hand, and have some security, be it firearms or whatever else, to protect your property. Every year, some area of the country is hit by a major flood, and it causes loss of life and great damage to property, causes families to be homeless, and a lot of families to evacuate.
You can enter your address on this FEMA site and get a flood map to help you access the flooding risk potential for your location. The Red Cross site has some great advice regarding flooding also.
Please remember that standard homeowners insurance does not cover flooding.
FloodSmart.gov has information regarding the National Flood Insurance Program. Flood coverage, however, is available in the form of a separate policy, both from the National Flood Insurance Program and from a few private insurers. Flood insurance is available for renters as well as homeowners. You'll need flood insurance if you live in a designated flood zone, but flooding can also occur in inland areas and away from major rivers. Consider buying a flood insurance policy if your house could be flooded by melting snow, an overflowing creek, or pond, or even water running down a steep hill.
Your best bet when flood conditions are imminent is again to have your bug-out bag at the ready and grab it and evacuate to higher ground. And always listen to weather alerts. Power outages are never ever convenient. They can be caused by a mechanical failure, a car accident, or a storm. And when they occur, you can lose your ability to communicate on your cell phone if you don't have it charged. You can't cook by normal means. You can't heat your house by normal means. The lights don't work, although you keep flipping them because you forget about that. It's just pretty miserable unless you are prepared. Now, one of the first things you need to do is make sure that you enter your power company's phone number on your cell phone. That way, you can easily call them and report an outage or find out when restoration is going to happen for your home.
The American Red Cross has information on how to prepare for a power outage.
Having an alternative power device is very important. It might be a small solar panel so you can charge your cell phone and rechargeable batteries. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a whole house generator or a smaller generator so you can make sure that everything in your freezer doesn't spoil. Of course, you also need to have plenty of flashlights and other ways to produce light. And cooking is very important. You might use your grill, a campfire, maybe a rocket stove, or even a solar cooker. Now, having an alternative heat source is, of course, very, very important. It can be as simple as a little My Buddy heater, and I have a card on a video on that. Now, when we lose power, like I said before, we also lose the ability to have water because we need power to run the well. So recently we installed a manual pump system in our basement so we can pump and still receive water. And I have a card on that too.
Lightning, heavy rains, and hail can cause extensive damage to crops and property. This map shows the average number of thunderstorms for your area. As you can see, Michigan is about mid-range on the map. The American Red Cross has an excellent guide called Thunderstorms and Lightning the Underrated Killers. I'll put a link here. This publication states thunderstorms affect relatively small areas when compared with hurricanes and winter storms. The typical thunderstorm is 15 miles in diameter and lasts an average of 30 minutes. Nearly 1,800 thunderstorms are occurring at any moment around the world. That's 16 million a year. Despite their small size, all thunderstorms are dangerous. Every thunderstorm produces lightning, which kills more people each year than tornadoes. It averages 93 deaths and 300 injuries each year.
Remember, if you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning. Always be safe and go to cover in any kind of thunderstorm. Now, storms can have other things too, such as very, very high winds, tornadoes, and hail.
Hail causes nearly $1 billion in damage to property and crops annually. Of the estimated 100,000 thunderstorms that occur each year in the U.S., only about 10% are classified as severe. The National Weather Service considers a thunderstorm severe if it produces hail at least 3/4 of an inch in diameter, wind 58 miles per hour or higher, or tornadoes.
Lightning, heavy rains, and hail can cause extensive damage to your property and crops. Always heed weather warnings. A storm watch means something might occur, but a warning means it is going to occur. It's difficult to know how to prepare for a terrorist attack. They're seemingly random and they can be a variety of different attacks.
Ready.gov has information regarding how to prepare for a biological or chemical threat and explosions. If you live in a major metropolitan city, near an international airport or seaport, or a historic landmark, you may have an increased risk of a terrorist attack. War on the Rocks is a great resource for visually mapping terrorist attacks in the U.S. This map shows the incidence of attacks. The biggest bubble of attacks is the northeastern section of the U.S. However, when you look at the chart that indicates terrorist activity by state, California ranks top, with New York a close second. My state, Michigan, ranks 12th on the chart.
Be sure to know the location of the nearest fallout shelter to your home and to your work. And in your basement or in a room that has no outside windows if possible, pre-cut plastic sheeting to cover the door, any windows if you do have them, and vents, and store those plastic sheets and duct tape along with food and water and an emergency radio in that room, so you might be better prepared for. It's important to monitor weather. If there is a tornado watch, it means that conditions are right to form a tornado. Doesn't mean that one will happen, however. But if it's a tornado warning and you hear the sirens, get to your shelter immediately. The best shelter is in the basement in a windowless room. If you don't have that type of room, go to a closet or your bathroom. Don't get out of the room until the alert ends.
Tornadoes have occurred in all 50 states. However, they are more likely in certain states. As you can see by this map, the red area is known as Tornado Alley, and it has the most risk from tornado activity. Tornadoes are ranked according to wind speed. Just think, an F5 tornado can have wind speeds in excess of 260 miles per hour. There have been only 59 confirmed F5s in the United States, and 2 of them are in my home state, Michigan, and one of them occurred a year after I was born, and it was only 15 miles from our house. The American Red Cross has a free phone app for Android and iPhones that signals an alarm if there is a tornado warning in your present location. It also, in the app, has statistics on the incidence of tornadoes for where you're located for the past 65 years. For me, it indicated that there were almost 300 tornadoes in that time period for where I live.
outages can occur for many reasons. It can be a planned maintenance. It could occur because of a power loss, or there could be E. coli in the water or something else, even a terrorist action. However, the solution for a water outage is pretty simple. Store water and store a lot of it. It's estimated that you need 1 to 3 gallons of water per person per day. So you can store bottled water, have a rain catchment system, or in our case, we have that pump in the basement. But whatever you do, make sure you have enough water. It's very, very important. And also have different water purification methods available. And that can be boiling water, adding chlorine, or pool shock, or other, maybe purification tablets. Make sure you have those on hand. Winter storms can be snowy blizzards or ice storms. They can have high winds or frigid temperatures. The National Weather Service calls blizzards the deceptive killer because usually a person dies from something else other than the storm itself. It's hypothermia or a heart attack shoveling snow or a car accident due to an icy road. Well, around here, when there's a blizzard, it means a snow day, which is no school for kids, and I swear you can hear the neighborhood shouting.
I still remember the blizzard of 1978, where West Michigan was buried under 3 feet of snow in a week's time, and it had wind gusts up to 100 miles per hour. I remember getting in my ski outfit and shoveling snow up to my waist. Believe it or not, I remember the time pretty fondly. There was no work, and everybody in the neighborhood chipped in to help out. Of course, my family was prepared, and that makes a difference between a fond memory and a nightmare.
It's really important to be prepared for winter storms before they strike because you might not be able to get out of your house to get to the store. Therefore, have a well-stocked pantry and an alternative heating source, first aid supplies, and water. And if you're in your car, have a good get-home bag and an emergency car kit. And I have cards for both my videos on those subjects. Personally, and I'm talking about me here, I prepare mainly for the personal threats in video 1 and these local threats. They've happened to me in the past and I'm sure they'll happen again, and I'm sure you've experienced some of these threats also.
If you look at my rating for these local threats, my top 3 are mainly weather related. Power outages, blizzards, ice storms, and severe thunderstorms occur often. Water outage is rated a little lower for me because of the manual pump we installed. Your ratings may be completely different from mine, and that is okay. This is a personal exercise. There is no right or wrong answers. You can see by the supplies checked that the bug out bag, food, water, first aid, energy, heat, and sanitation are all more important. Guns or security are still not as important as the basics. However, these can be very important if these events are prolonged.
Next week, I'll wrap up this video series and we'll talk about national and international threats. I hope you're finding this series helpful in your prepping efforts. If so, please subscribe and share the knowledge, and thumbs up if you like this video. This is Prepper Potpourri telling you thank you so much for watching.